Hey everybody, we're here for a new episode of RLG Cast Reviews. It's me and the JD and the PUTTY, and we're talking Barbie because what else did you want to watch today but three old white guys talk about Barbie?
Oh,
Oh boy.
Straight white guys talk about Barbie. Alpha
oh.
males talking about Barbie. Just a couple of beta
A
cucks.
Gen Xer talking
Yeah.
about.
He's at least 70 at this point.
Oh yeah.
I'm going on 65.
Anyways, we're gonna review Barbie today. I guess we'll kind of just talk a little bit about it and give scores, and then we'll talk more. This is kind of like Oppenheimer, where it's not really a movie that has spoilers. I don't think.
I mean,
at
well,
least the way it's
kind of.
laid out.
I mean, it's a weird thing because it's one of those things I didn't expect to actually like. Again,
Well, Oppenheimer is historical, so it's based on something true. So it's already been spoiled.
Yeah, this movie doesn't really have like a twist or something, like.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, let's talk about this movie. Putty, talk about this movie.
It's a movie about a toy called Barbie and a very, very submissive Ken. That's like, what? Okay, we'll get into that later. That's just a weird.
All right, here,
anyway,
I'll tell you what the movie's about because Putty has no idea what he's talking about. Barbie has like a midlife crisis, and she's trying to figure it out, what's going wrong with her life and how everything's changing. So she travels to the human world to try to figure out what's going on behind the scenes, and chaos ensues.
Was that really shown in the trailers though? Because I really didn't watch the trailers. I think I watched the first trailer when it first came out, and then
I don't know. I don't have TV.
But my point is like, is that actually said in the trailers that she goes into the real world? That's
yeah,
what I'm curious.
They show it. They show it.
Okay.
So okay, it's like a fish out of water story for a bit.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest with you. I think for me, the worst parts of this movie are when they go to the human world.
Yeah.
Like the stuff in the Barbie world is all really well handled. It just doesn't feel the same. Even like visually, like the stuff they did with like the Barbie worlds, like when they're traveling and like the scenery and the way everything looks, it looks fantastic. And then the cinematography and the way they film things in the real world just looks so bland. It's odd.
Well, I think they did that on purpose just because they wanted it to be a very transition to the bright, colorful plastic world of Barbie into what, goes to the real world. Which is really funny because, when you get into the real world, which we'll go in more detail, I guess, when we get into spoilers and everything. I don't know if there's where the line would be drawn on that. But because like even going in, I was like, okay, I don't know if this is gonna be for me. But then, like, it's the comedy that really holds this movie together, especially in the Barbie sections. Because, like, when you go to Barbie World, even when you go back to it in any way, it feels like the comedy's way better in that world. You know what I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong. Will Ferrell is great in this movie. He's hilarious. But like, and by the way, I have an idea and a theory too when it comes to Will Ferrell in this movie. But as a whole, I was surprised it's actually enjoyable. Like like the tagline was, "If you like Barbie, you'll like this movie. If you hate Barbie, you'll like this movie." And I don't like Barbie, and it actually worked.
Putty owns many Barbies.
Yeah,
that's right.
I have a younger sister, so I've had to deal with Barbies all my life.
I mean, Barbies are really valuable, so like I wouldn't mind having a couple Barbies.
But I mean, but that's my whole point. Like I was surprisingly, and again, it's still targeted towards girls. I want to put that out there. It is still targeted towards girls, but it has enough comedy that if you're going with like a boyfriend, you're gonna actually enjoy it. He's gonna actually enjoy that and not feel awkward.
It's not a children's movie. I want to point this out.
No,
that's weird. Yeah, that's the weird thing about it too.
But this is a thing, and I talked to somebody about this. And then they took it as, oh, why would you make this movie about this, but it's not for kids? I'm like, I didn't say it's not for kids. I said it's not for like small children. Like it's directed at like 11, 12 plus year old
early pre-tween kind of.
Yeah, it's not for like small children.
But see, here's the thing, though. I think the small children wouldn't get some of them more.
They wouldn't get any of it. The message, they wouldn't get anything about it.
No, they wouldn't. But visually, though, when you're in the Barbie section, that's where the kids. I feel like the younger kids are going to love it. They're going to get really bored in the real world, and then when they go back to that section, I think the poppy colors and all the little fun stuff in there will keep their attention. But it's not like the Lego movie in that way. You know what I mean?
I was going into this movie expecting something like the Lego movie.
I actually feel like I got the Lego movie as if it was live action.
Well, that's the funny thing. I'm sitting here thinking about it, and when we get to spoilers, I have a theory.
I know your
film
theory. I can already tell where you're going with it.
It has mutants in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. The X-Men are coming into the Barbie verse.
But okay, so I
think Scarlet Witch for some reason.
I think the acting was handled really well. It's visually looks pretty stunning for most of the movie. The comedy works. It's like we talked about this in our review yesterday for Oppenheimer, and me and Putty did it. JD wasn't there, but I went
to my work Christmas party in July.
Yeah, he's a weirdo. But it's a movie I would rather revisit than Oppenheimer. Even though Oppenheimer is a better movie, I would favor Barbie over Oppenheimer because at least I can rewatch it. Like there's zero rewatchability in Oppenheimer.
Barbie is in. I would akin it to something like, I don't know, to put in the same pink verse, I guess. Like a Legally Blonde. If it's on in the background, you'll watch it, kind of thing. Oppenheimer's not a background watch movie kind of thing.
Oppenheimer's not a movie you ever need to watch again after you've seen it once. It's just, that's 3 hours of talking, and it's not a bad movie. I don't mean that, but I wouldn't want to have to sit through that again. It's just, you don't have 3 hours to waste on a regular basis.
Like a There Will Be Blood kind of thing.
Yeah, right. It's like, not that it's a bad movie, but like, I'm not gonna just Barbie, because of the comedy and this time span, it has a rewatchability factor. Anyways, all of the things I liked. I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything before we completely open the floor.
No.
Okay, we're gonna
give because it's in the spoilers. Yeah,
we're gonna give scores here. Putty, give me a score.
No,
you're fired.
I'm gonna say 7.5. I mean, it's not a high score, but again, I agree with you when it comes to.
I find it odd that you always think sevens are not a high score.
I don't know. It's starting to get to low factor, but it's not like again. I wouldn't go back and watch it again. But it's a decent movie. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like for me, fives is when you start getting into not good scores.
Yeah. I get it. Yep.
Anything below a passing grade.
Okay, I'll give it a 7.9. I think it's arguably the best comedy of the year. It's one of the best comedies of the last 5 years. It's just like as much as it is similar to the Lego movie, it's also a very fresh idea and like take on stuff. And it calls out everything I hate about the internet. JD,
7.1.
7.1. Okay, it's a 7. So we'll meet at 7.5. There you go. That's your score. Yeah. We're gonna open the floor here to talk about the movie. Feel free to stay or drop a like. And okay, go ahead. You wanted to talk about stuff.
Well, I want to say,
no, not you.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Me. Okay, let me go with this. But I just want to get this out of the way before anything else. The movie started off for me strong and ended weak. I love the fact that when she gets to the real world and meets that high school girl and says, you're everything is wrong with society. You have these false images that we can't attain to. There's nothing. And if they went with that story, instead of Ken being the bad guy and the quote unquote toxic masculinity, I think it could have ended a little stronger and throw a message out saying that, no, it's not about unachievable body status or unachievable things. You can achieve this if you put the effort and if you put your mind to it, and you can accomplish things if you set your goals. You know what I mean? And I would have preferred that to be the story instead of men.
But that is real life.
It is. I understand that. But I just thought that would have been a more empowering message in the end.
This is how I saw this. I saw Ken was like Barbie. They were the same.
He was submissive.
Barbie came to the real world to find out that she's toxic because she's a bad image. And Ken came to the real world to find out that men are dominant. So he took that idea and went back there and did what they're doing. Yeah. So to me, it wasn't so much about toxic masculinity as it was about Ken just becoming like the false image that is projected on men. Like there's not all men are bad, but like there's this group of people that make us look bad because they're the ones that speak the loudest, and that's what Ken saw and brought that idea back, right? And Barbie
because there
ends
was
up
that line.
in the
There was
end.
that line in the movie. He goes, "No, no, no. The patriarchy's not dead. We just hide it better now."
Yeah, and in the end, you find out that the Barbie thing, like through the creator, I can't remember her name, but
The
Rhea
one played by
Perlman, you find out the reason why Barbie is the way Barbie is. It's not to make women feel bad. It's just it's a doll. Like,
well,
she could do anything.
Well, here's my thing. When I was sitting there watching it, the ending made me go back and actually think about some of the spots. So if you remember the ending, they showed
Ruth,
yeah. And in the ending, you notice they showed a lot of kids, like they showed clips of all those kids growing up and everything. And see, as a guy, like you said yourself, your sister had the Barbie dolls and everything. I didn't have any in my life that had those, but I do imagine that in that world, the Barbie dolls were way more important than Ken. And I feel like that's what the push was the whole idea that even, you know, as again,
in the beginning parts.
Yeah,
she doesn't need Ken to validate her success and kind of
and that's what I
get that. That's fantastic.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm getting into, because here's the thing. I was trying to think of it in a point of view where I was like, okay, I didn't play with these toys, but like, for example, me, when it came to I'm going to use He-Man as an example. He-Man, Teela, when the series came out and Teela was the focal point of the Master Universe a series that came out, a lot of guys got mad. I feel like that's the reason why they did this the way they did it, because a lot of the girls played more with the Barbie doll than the Ken doll. So the Ken doll just felt like it was an accessory to the Barbie doll. That's exactly what they're pointing out here, is Ken has been that accessory, but you can take that individuality, because you got to think there's that woke culture that's out there that this also has that kind of thing for. But then when I'm watching it and that ending with the girls and everything, with the little kids and all that kind of stuff, it made me realize I got to remember, this is not targeted towards me. This is a little girl to girls, older girls. It's all women movie. You know what I mean? It's targeted for them.
And I agree. And I got to give
anybody.
And I got to give credit to that scene that America Ferrera did, where she gives that speech. That was absolutely fantastic. I have to give credit to that too. Like she put on a powerful, very powerful performance.
And that's what I like too. The daughter. This is more than just a singular thing, right? It's calling out both sides. It's calling out the toxic sides and the other side, which is also toxic. The daughter was on one toxic side of like extreme feminism, and Ken is the other side of the toxic masculinity,
the patriarchy.
And the wife's point, I mean, the mother's whole like speech thing is like, Barbie is good for this reason. This is why we had Barbie.
Yeah.
Maybe now Barbie doesn't mean the same thing, but in our time, Barbie was special. And that was like, right? It's like, imagine if you're a guy and you only had one kind of action figure. You know, you would feel the same way. If someone was like, "Oh, Batman's stupid," you're like, "Batman's not stupid." Like, you know what I mean?
True. I mean, my sister did join me, like, whenever, like, I never had the April O'Neil action figure. So when I would play with my Ninja Turtles when I was a kid, my sister's Barbie, she wanted to play with us. She would use Barbie as April O'Neil.
Yeah.
That's really tall April O'Neil.
Very tall. But she was taller than the Turtles.
But I mean, for example, because I also thought about this movie in a very different way. Because see, when it comes to stuff like Transformers, like when we look at actual toys that turn into movies, Transformers is a good example of what you can do without having to go and actually say it's a toy. You know what I mean? Barbie felt like it was going to be one of those hard ones to do. So the way they did that to actually simplify it and say this is a toy in our real world, and that was such a different idea, very meta. That wasn't, I don't feel like it's been really done before with something as big as what this is. And I don't think even if we did a G.I. Joe movie and did it this way, it would ever work. It's just because, you know, those we could make a Barbie doll movie, but that's just Barbie without the toy, and it would just be a basic movie. You know what I mean? Like about someone that's working a life in different jobs. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's because the thing is, I was trying to think like if we ever had those times where we had a movie based on our toys, but we kind of already did, like Wizard, things of that nature. We had those movies where we have those toys implemented into the movie, and we got excited when we saw that toy. So like even I bet you big collectors of Barbie got super hyped when they saw Alan. You know what I mean? They're like, oh my god, Alan! Which I know I
there's
had to
a
look
lot
up
of lore and Easter eggs in this movie. Surprisingly,
And that's my point. They did a really good job of handling what the collectors would love, what the kids growing up with Barbie dolls love, and even taking moments to say, "Hey, we got to get something here to get the guys watching it." So they put in the comedy, like when they referenced Margot Robbie, the narrator, referenced Margot Robbie as like, "This is what happens when you hire Margot Robbie as Barbie." I was like, "That's hilarious."
No, the best part was when the thing pops up on the screen and it says maybe Margot Robbie is not the best example to use for this when it's like trying to pretend she's ugly.
No, that was the narrator saying that. The narrator actually says that. Yeah.
That was Helen Mirren, eh?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Helen Mirren is really good, man. So I don't know. I know Putty was what they were saying. Putty was beach off. I know you got excited there for the beach off.
I already knew they were saying beach off.
I just wanted to make sure you knew that they weren't going to do something
but
crazy.
But I found that funny. Those are the little things that definitely were for adults. Like, why is this such a funny thing?
There's
why
a lot of that.
Laughing? Yeah.
There's a lot of that throughout the movie.
It's kind of like Shrek. It's like Shrek was one of those movies that did that great, and I feel like this is one of those movies that did that great. When it came to having great stuff for the kids, great stuff for the adults, and even a middle ground in between. You know what I mean? Like, it just did
but
good.
like my favorite thing was the Godfather part, because I know. Like, not specifically for The Godfather, but I can name you, I won't, but I can name you like 30 people that I know personally in the Instagram movie community that are that person. Yeah. That like, if you haven't seen it, they'll still try to like explain it to you. Like, you can't just watch the movie on your own.
They have to mansplain it to you.
Yeah. And, but I think Alan was the best part of the whole movie.
I know, right?
I never would have thought Michael Cera would be part. Like,
it's funny because you think it's like a dumb little scene, and then when he comes back at the end and he's such a big part of what's happening, and he's trying to get out from the fence, they're like, "Just walk around," and he's like trying to jump over.
or even when he makes that joke about, "I can wear Ken's clothes too." It's literally references to the toys, I'm guessing, that just make it even funnier. So like, I love that Mattel was able to make fun of themselves so much in this. That's a great when you can sit there and say, you know what, we gotta let it go and just make fun of ourselves for what we are.
I really like that, especially with the Will Ferrell stuff. But my issue with it is, it's like, yeah, they poked fun at themselves and they had a good time, but then immediately announced like 17 toy movies are coming out right after Barbie came out, and I was like, yeah, you're just jerks.
Which, by the way, I have a feeling that Will Ferrell's going to be in all of them, and it's going to be like a branching thing where he was in Lego Movie and he was like, he built that thing with the kid.
Apparently, they want it to be some kind of universe,
which basically seems like Will Ferrell.
So Will Ferrell will probably be the linking factor through all the movies.
Well, what if Will Ferrell's job in the Lego Movie was working for Mattel?
That's what I'm thinking. Because he was very strict about the toys because he's putting them together. So I could see him being like, I do this at work and everything. I want this displayed nicely, which then fits that whole theme. You know what I mean? And then we go back and he's at work and working for Mattel. And like there's so many branching things you could do here, like in divisions and all that kind of stuff, and have fun with Will Ferrell being the one running it all.
Yeah, I do think that the Lego universe is over.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to go back to it because the cost to make those was so expensive, and the last one didn't do very well. I mean, I like Lego Ninjago, and a lot of people didn't. I thought it was funny, but Lego Movie 2 was like not terrible. It was still like a good watch, but it was like such a huge step down from Batman and the first Lego movie, and they took way too long to release it. And I think Chris Pratt is just so oversaturated at this point.
There's too much of him now. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garfield.
That's a Garfield thing. Bill Murphy.
Bill Murphy. Okay, so I think the high point of this movie is the comedy, but like,
the comedy did work.
The little tweaks of comedy that you get, like John Cena popping up as the mermaid.
The mermaid? I don't know. I didn't see him.
You didn't see him? Oh, I got it. Classic.
I mean, the thing. There's little things and nods I love. I love how the whole idea of like the Ken thing, where he's subservient. So he's like, he's just waiting there for Barbie to show up, and he's like, hey, where is she? Oh, Barbie, hi, Barbie. And then that whole pattern of calling each other Barbie. It's like, again, I like that they can make fun of themselves, and there's so many moments that you're going to enjoy this. I mean, again, if you're watching the spoiler section here, then you're clearly not either watched it or
you had Graphic as Ken.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing.
The new Doctor from Doctor Who.
You had a giant rat as Ken.
Yep. But yeah, Ryan
graphic
Gosling
guy.
actually did a good job of being dumb, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Um, I don't know. Ryan Gosling is so good. Ryan Gosling and Simu Liu is like one of
Yeah.
the oddest combinations that I never knew I wanted, and it's like so good.
I want a
I know
buddy
what-
cop movie with these two.
Yeah, I'll
I
take
know,
that any
right?
day.
Uh,
I forgot what I was gonna say. The Mojo Dojo Casa House #1 is like the greatest. I need a shirt that says that on it. And I don't know. That's it. That's all
They're
I
in
have.
production. You can pre-order that, and you can pre-order the I Am Knuff.
I am
oh,
Knuff.
I thought about that one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He
mean,
needs that.
I also, the one thing I want to point out for everyone, even if you don't like or you don't know Barbie toys or anything like that, you know just the old classic toys, like how they opened up, like old He-Man, all that kind of stuff. So it's nice that they literally use that as a formula for the whole world, to where like they opened up the medical bay thing and then pulled out the car. I was like, this movie is amazing. I love that it just makes fun of itself. Like, it's just weird to know that I enjoyed saying this out loud. I enjoyed watching the Barbie movie, and that's just something I never thought I would say in my life.
All right.
It
On
was
that note, we should end it. Oh, do you want to say it? Go.
No,
you
I'm just
say
saying it was a fun movie. Like
it was a
I'm not
fun
gonna.
movie. And we're gonna end this review. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and check out their channels and stuff and whatever and stuff. And Barbie.
G1.
I'm Kenneth.